Good morning, everybody. Lone Wolf Rick here, and it is Sunday morning here in Las Vegas, about 7 a.m. here in the Las Vegas Strip, and I'm standing inside the Cosmopolitan. I'm on the second floor of the Cosmopolitan. Give you kind of a look around here, and I'm down on the very end. I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened last night here on the Strip, how panic really gripped the Strip. And it was pretty tense down here for a good hour, actually. And what I went through, what I saw, what I experienced was something like I had never experienced before. So last night, it's about 10 p.m. I had just finished doing a video. It's like over at the Lake Promenade, the video I do every Saturday night. And I'm kind of walking around the Strip, and I'm trying to figure out, it's like, is there anything else I need to do before heading home and go to bed? And I had been here since kind of like today, 7 a.m. on the Strip. So I was pretty beat, pretty wore out. Keep in mind, it's 10 o'clock last night. So I came over here to the Cosmopolitan because I was going to work on the video, do a couple of little edits on it, and get it ready to post this morning, which I will post a little bit later on this morning. I came up here. It's kind of one of my favorite spots. As you can see, there's some chairs here, lounge chairs, and then back behind the lounge chairs, behind this little thing here, is a plug. I don't know if you can see it or not here at the table, but there's a plug down there, and I can sit here and I can charge my phone and work on my videos. And it's usually pretty quiet through this area here, as it's kind of a walkthrough between the Block 16 food court that's over there and the hotel rooms, which are on the other side. If you go up to the third level, see the escalator right there. If you go up to the third level, there's like the Chelsea showroom up there, a bunch of conference rooms, meeting rooms, stuff like that. So anyway, so I'm sitting here and I'm working on my video, and all of a sudden there's a rush, and I'm not exaggerating, coming from where the food court is over here, down this hallway, rushing towards this area. Literally hundreds, maybe a couple, 3,000 people who are just running and screaming, literally. So by this time, it's probably about, I don't know, roughly 10:15 or whatever. They come rushing through this area right here, and they're rushing towards the hotel wing. And then some of them come out here, and they're rushing through this area here, and they're heading out these doors right here, which I think are the doors that lead out to the valet area, the fire escapes and stuff. So I'm trying to figure out, it's like, what's going on, and I'm trying to like wrap myself around, it's like, what could be happening here. And I hear a guy say there's a shooter on the first floor. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm watching the people, and the people are literally running and they're screaming as they're coming through this area. And like I said, hundreds, maybe a few thousand people. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm looking, and there's some of the women are crying. Their husbands are like with them. It's like, pushing them ahead, trying to get to, I guess, elevators or whatever for the hotel tower, literally crying. I hear a second person said on the first level, there was a shooter down there. And it's like, as they were kind of running through, it's like, and going through the area over here, I hear it's like there was 4 security people that came running through, and they were running through towards the food court over there. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like, this is crazy. So I kind of moved, it's like after most of the people kind of went through and were running back to the rooms or whatever, which was a good 10-15 minutes of people literally running. I started heading back towards the food court area. So I get back to that area over there, and I see there's people sitting and kind of eating. There's people, the employees are all working. Like I said, well, how bizarre is this? But there's still people running through the area over here and coming through this area here that are screaming. It's like, thinking running back towards the rooms or whatever. So I'm kind of like, I'm watching to look around, and I'm seeing what the security's doing. I'm seeing what the employees are doing or whatever. and everything seemed like it was almost like business as normal or whatever. I go over towards the exit doors. People are coming in, going out. And like I said, well, this is bizarre, because I figured if there was a shooter on the first floor, it's like they would have either they would number one, lock the property down, or number two, escort everybody out of the property, one or the other. So I'm watching this, I'm like, okay. And now I'm at that point of where it's like, you know, I'm like watching to see what the employees are doing. It was kind of business as normal. So I went outside. It's like onto the people mezzanine level. It's like, you know, on the crossing Harmon and the Las Vegas Strip. And I'm standing out there, and there were still people that were running. And it's like, hey, and I encountered a guy who was talking to a group of people, and he looked like he was scared for his life. He said he was at Planet Hollywood, and there was a shot on the casino floor, and people were panicking, and they were all rushing out of the property over there. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, well, the shooter wasn't here on the first floor of the Cosmopolitan. It was at Planet Hollywood on the first floor of the Cosmopolitan. And I'm watching the people running from where Planet Hollywood was. It was like a thing. The shooter was at Planet Hollywood, alleged shooter. And this guy's telling his story about how he was there, how he was only a few feet away and heard the gunshot. And it was like a thing, and he feared for his life. And he did look scared. He was, basically sweating profusely, although it was still 100 degrees outside. And he was coming through the area of and talking to people and telling me it was like the shooter was on the first floor, like over at Planet Hollywood. And I'm still seeing people running. It's like over the people walkway. It's like, you know, over the strip. So I'm like, okay. Now I'm at the point of where it's like I'm just kind of like listening to stories to see what's going to happen. It's like, or what's going on. And but everything over here at the Cosmopolitan seemed normal. You know, people were coming in, going out. The nightclub, it was up here on the second floor. People are standing in line waiting to get in. I'm like, okay. Which was a far difference, it's like, than the hundreds or a couple thousand people running by me here. So I'm at that point of where it's like, you know, what do I do? It's like, you know, I'm hearing and seeing all of this. I'm seeing the panic. I'm seeing the people panicking. And it's like, you know, hey, so that's what I did the first video. I did a video where I talked about there was supposedly a shooter over at the Planet Hollywood. People were running. It's like running around, running out. It's like the thing. Well, come to find out, allegedly by the police department, there was no shooter. There was somebody threw a big rock through a window at MGM Grand in the ballet area, and it shattered the door, and people panicked and heard it, thought it was a gunshot at MGM Grand. Now keep in mind, MGM Grand is what, a mile up the road. Like, well, what does that have to do with here? The word had spread to every property. It's like going all the way down the strip, basically, that there was a shooter at the property. So every property was dealing with people who had heard that there was a shooter on the casino floor, and the panic was just ensuing from everywhere. I mean, everybody was panicking. So I went back outside. I was looking at the across the way, and by this time at Planet Hollywood, there's about 6-8 police cars parked out front, 2 ambulances parked out front. I'm like, wow. I'm like, well, something happened over there. It's like, you know, whatever it was, it's like, you know, at that time I didn't know if people had gotten shot. I didn't know if people got trampled on, tried to leave. Wasn't sure what the problem was or what had happened over there. By that time, it's like, you know, I had a person leave a comment on the first video saying what had happened at MGM. I went on the internet to check and see it. It was like, well, it looked like this is what happened at MGM. Didn't explain what the panic was. It's like all down the strip or whatever. So I went through, I did a second video where I showed the police cars, I showed the ambulances and stuff. And I put in the title, it's like, you know, a thing, it's like, you know, police are saying there was no shooter. And that's kind of where we're at right now. It's like allegedly one lie. Somebody spread a word. It's like that there was a shooter. It's like on the party, and it spread like wildfire. But I'm telling you, the panic that I saw in people, the what was going on, and it's like of what it caused, was something I had never experienced before. I had never seen people screaming, and maybe after a sporting event or whatever, but where they were screaming, where it's like they were in fear for their lives. It's like I said, there were women crying because they literally felt here at the hospital there was a shooter on the first floor, and it's like their life was in danger, all because someone started a lie, and it just spread on down the strip to where there was a shooter everywhere. Even on that pedestrian bridge out front of the property, there were people that were talking about look down, look down. They're telling me to look down, so they're telling people to look down. So I looked down, and from where Bellagio at, there's people literally running this way from there. Like, I guess it's like Bellagio had the same thing happen or whatever. As they said, see, there's a shooter down there someplace. It's like, they look at the people, they're all running. I'm like, you know, that's what I experienced last night. It was pure pandemonium. It was pure, just the depth of everybody being scared was something I'd never experienced before. And, you know, and so I got home last night, as like going through, and I'm thinking about, you know, the day or whatever. And I wanted to do this video to share exactly everything I went through, what I experienced here from last night. And this morning, I'm sure it'll be business as normal. All right, everybody, Lone Wolf Rick, this is kind of a special views from the Strip. I thank you very much for joining me. I'll see you in all the next video. Bye-bye, everybody.